another episode of I Am Ready for Love. Ready to love myself, ready to love someone else, and ready to teach someone else to love me. Okay, so today I have some guests with me. I have two of my longtime classmates and friends, Miss Anne Monique Bailey Hutchinson and Miss Monique King Graffine. And I want you guys to welcome them. They are working professionals, so they're giving me some of their time today to just discuss expectations going into marriage. For those who are already married, you can comment down below what the expectations were when you were getting married and what the expectations were that other persons had of you as a wife. All right, so we're going to have Monique and Anne Monique talk to us today. So guys, how long, I want you to introduce yourselves and tell us how long you've been married and all of that. Monique.
Okay. I've been married since 2017. Sometimes I lose track. So I think it's 3 years. We celebrated our third anniversary earlier this year. Yes. But we've been together for 10 years. So just for context.
All right. And Monique?
All right. So I've been married since March 16, 2019. So it's almost 2 years. Almost 2 years.
Almost.
So this.
And how long together?
Oh, well, we started dating sometime officially in 2017, I think.
Mm-hmm.
We've been friends for, when did I leave school? We've been friends for about 7 years.
Long time.
Okay. Yeah, but whenever going on a dating thing, we're very good friends. Because I was dating before I met him, so yeah.
Perfect. All right. So tell us some of the expectations you had when you were going into marriage.
Which one of us? Me or Monique?
You're already on the floor. We're going to start with you.
All right. So one of the expectations I had going into marriage was that going in, it would be easy to adapt to balancing being a wife, a professional, active in the church, have a social life with myself, with my spouse, everybody else, family and friends. I figured I would be, I was well raised, so I figured that this is something that we go in and sort out the thing, and I'm ready for love and ready for marriage. Yeah, I figured that would be easy and I would be able to balance it and manage it on my own. And then I got married.
So what was the reality of the situation now?
Oh my God, the reality was that I had to wake up because I live in St. Catherine, Jamaica.
Mm-hmm.
So I have to wake up early in the morning, get ready for work. So go to work, come back home, and the traffic from Kingston to St. Catherine it would cause a well-saved person to backside if you're not strong enough. It's hard. So I'll spend 2 hours, 2.5 hours, sometimes 3 hours trying to get home, leaving work 5 o'clock, not getting home until 8 o'clock. Mm-hmm. So I couldn't come home after work and come and cook like I planned to. I started out doing it, but I couldn't keep it up for long because we'd be eating at ungodly hours of the night. I started to gain weight quickly because I was coming home and I was cut. I wanted to be like my mother.
Yeah.
She would come from work and cook for my father, so that's what I saw. And I wanted to do that, I couldn't keep it up for long. So Leroy had to get into cooking. That became my reality. He had to start helping me out more. I figured that I would come home sometimes and wash when I come home. I'm tired. Mm-hmm. It's not me washing the clothes, it's the machine washing, but I'm too tired to go and load that up and all of it.
There.
Yes, I was not the super woman I thought I would be, and the super wife. So quickly, I had to adopt to the fact that I'm not my mother. I can do as best as I can as a wife. I could do as much as I could, but I would need help in order to get the things done that are supposed to be done in and around the house and in the family.
Monique?
I think my story is a little bit different from Anne Monique. My
Mm-hmm.
expectations of marriage, they're honestly, they weren't too much because I thought from early out that when you get married, like there isn't any silver dust that's sprinkled on you and now you transform into something else that you weren't. So I think all the things that we were doing before, I expected those to remain. I sort of more expected life to change when you had kids, but that's a conversation for another time.
Mm-hmm.
The things that I expected in marriage, and one of the things that I wanted was, for example, when you're filling out forms, I've always used my, at the time, boyfriend as my emergency contact. And then it was always, do I say spouse? Do I say, like, you're not too sure. But now when I get married, it's gonna be easy. My contact person, my husband. So, and then like just introducing him in a formal setting, it's kind of a bit awkward in the professional space sometimes. It's like you're expected to, a part of your professional being is that you're married and settled. So the boyfriend thing is kind of looked down on. Personally, I don't think so, but that was kind of the expectation in a professional space. So I think that would have been evened out once you get married. You're introducing your partner. He's not my husband. I don't have to say my boyfriend or my friend, or I don't have to be confused about what to say. In terms of like chores and so around the house, I agree with Anne Monique that at one point I sort of tried to be like my mom. To this day, she would still come home every day, and even though all her kids are grown, she would prepare meals for us every day. She was doing our laundry and tidying. She was doing most of the work. She was a superwoman. And at one point, I thought that's how I was going to be. But I realized that before I got married, that wasn't going to be the case for me. And on the cooking part, I'm not going to come home and cook every day. That's not me.
Mm-hmm.
The cleaning part, I tried to have a routine of cleaning every weekend. And before you know it, that became, I'm tidying up most weekends. And then I'm cleaning when I have a major holiday. And now that I'm a mom, that's even a bit more flexible. So you try to keep the place as tidy as possible. But that spring cleaning every weekend, it doesn't happen.
And it,
Yeah, so
I think it all goes back to back in the days when the woman was at home all the time and the husband went out. So the woman governed the house.
right.
So she's expected to do all of these things: wash, cook, clean, take care of you, and the husband just brings in the money. Him go out and him work and him bring in the money. But nowadays, in our generation, we are going out to work as well. But
Right.
that expectation is still on us to wash, cook, clean, go work, take care of the kids, take care of this, take care of this. And it's just too much for one person to do. And a lot of
Don't get me
persons
wrong,
don't
Kalisa.
understand.
My mom was working all this time while doing all of that. So,
That was
For
the
woman.
one.
so the expectation is just handed to you. It's like my dad once said to me when I was complaining about how tired I was after taking care of my one child. He said, your mom had six, sorry, and she did everything that you're doing and more. And she never complained about being as tired as you're complaining. And I'm like, well, maybe it's something in the food that you were eating back then that gave
Because
you
she
that
didn't
energy.
complain doesn't mean she wasn't tired. Because she didn't
Exactly.
complain doesn't mean she wasn't tired.
That is
Right.
true. I often ask my mommy, how did she do it? Because not only was she taking care of all of us, her kids, she was also a youth leader. So she would go to church after she come home from work. But before she go to church, she would cook dinner and she washing up dishes. She don't believe in leaving dirty dishes in the sink and all of those things. And she would share daddy's food and put it on the table, and him I get the most food, When everybody, she food plate packed and everything. And then when she's through being a wife and a mother and a cleaner and a housekeeper and all of these things that she was able to do while working her 7 o'clock. It's not like we know we have 9 to 5. She had from before 7 o'clock to odd hours of the night because she's a chef. So she had to do that and balance it and still be a good wife, a good mother, and all of these things. So it wasn't even so much that people placed the expectations on me, It's just that I saw this growing up.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to replicate this as best as possible in my family. And sometimes I get it right. Like Monique indicated earlier, she does the cleaning on the weekends. This is one of the Saturdays. This is one of my lightest Saturdays. And it's only because the rain is falling and I was trying to get ready for your thing. And I was also watching the elections. But apart from that, I would be busy washing. And you have the bathroom to clean, your bedroom to tidy, all of these things. You would have to be doing them. Plus, I have court on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and I have church on Sunday. I have rehearsals later, shopping later, hairdresser later, and all of these things. And you have to get them done on that Saturday and still rest. Try to find some time to have fun. It's not easy. So every one of those young ladies out there who are waiting to find their boys, they have to realize that this is a delicate balancing act that you will have to perform for the rest of your life until you get the hang of it. And hopefully in the future I will be one of those wives who have a helper, living helper. But for now, you have to be the Proverbs 31, as my husband would call it.
So how can your husbands help to take off some of that pressure then?
I think for me, I've always said that I don't believe in gender roles or that the man should do, the woman should do. I feel like once you're in a relationship, married or not, it's supposed to be a partnership. So we always sit down and we say what needs to be done, what are our priorities. And then we say, where is your strength? Where is my strength? And everyone takes on their strength. At the end of the day, we get things done quicker. More importantly, we get things done, and we also, it sort of helps us to bond and leaves us more time to spend together. And believe it or not, the more you do together as a couple, the stronger you are. The more you discover each other, the more you get comfortable with each other. So I would think once you communicate, identify the strengths and weaknesses, and you tackle everything together, then that will help everybody be better.
That was one of my problems, Monique. I had things in my head strictly divided along gender roles, because Dad did some things and Mommy did some things, and that was just it from a very traditional background. So I think that affected me a lot, and that's why I placed that amount of expectation upon myself. Until Lyra and I did the same thing. We had to communicate and sit down and say, Monique, he calls me Monique, or Nick. So, what do you do and what do I do? We don't have a list, but we talk about it and we sort out. His time is far more flexible than mine. So because of that, he's able to, do more cooking than I do. So what we agree, say for example, sometimes he would cook in the week and I would cook Fridays, Saturdays, Sundays, and any day that I might come home from court. If I go, for example, to court in St. Anne, I would come back home a little earlier than the usual night. So I would cook on those days. So we have to come to an agreement that works out best for us so we can both serve each other, because marriage is also about that. We have to find a way to serve each other so that both our needs are satisfied to the best of our human ability. It's not going to be perfect, but it's certainly something that we should aim for as couples.
All right, so you touched on communication and Monique.
Yes.
And how can you advise those like myself who are just going to be married, newly married, wanting to be married, don't find a person yet, but dreaming? How can you advise them on how to communicate about that?
Well, talking is extremely important here. As much as you can, however you can, get to know each other so that, your partner can actually know what you are about, what it is that you require, what it is that you want. If it's unrealistic, then there comes a conversation where you have to be honest with the partner and say, you can't expect this of me, and I will not expect that of you. Because we often come into a relationship with unrealistic expectations. I was told one time that we should not go into a relationship with expectation. I don't believe that. It's just that you have to watch the expectation that you
Realistic ones.
realistic ones, because nothing is wrong with expectations itself. What really goes wrong is when you have the expectations, it's unmet, and then how you respond, that will determine whether or not at the dating stage your relationship can move on to courting and then finally on to marriage. So it's very important that you keep the communication, the channels of communication open at all times. Be honest with each other. You have to be honest. We have to stop the be your best self while you're dating so you can catch the woman or catch the man.
And then when it wear off, what?
Yeah, exactly. When you get married, what happened? You really don't know who you got married to. So argue while you're dating and see how the female will respond to the man and how you as a female will respond to the man. Do all of that while you're dating. Going uncomfortable, get yourselves in uncomfortable situations while you're dating to see how you will respond to each other and to the situation. As honestly and as openly as you can while you are dating and getting to know each other, because really and truly at that stage of getting into your relationship, it is key that you get to know the real you and that other person
as
to
well.
know you really are, because otherwise you're going into a marriage with a stranger and your partner will be married to a stranger, and that is when conflict will arise, because if he never knew who you really were in the first place. That's why makeup is, my husband, he knew me without makeup, He know me with my hair plait up, he know me with my hair perm, he know me when my hair really want to wash, he know me when, because I can't comb hair. This is the best that I can do. Head up in one, and I recently started putting some two twists in the hair. So he knows me with makeup and without makeup. So he knows the real me. So when I wake up in the morning with my ear not tied or anything like that, he knows what I look like.
Not frightened.
Him don't frighten because him don't. So you have to show the real you in order for communication to even make sense, because you can be communicating on hell, but are you communicating from a real place of honesty? That is important, I think.
Monique, anything to add?
Yes, one thing I want to say, like you said, for someone who is not yet married but looking to get there, I think it's important for you to, as Anne Monique said, establish your expectations. And you should categorize your expectations as well into deal breakers being the most important one. Then you have expectations. I like if we cook every day or if we go out often, but these are not so important to me. But I like these things.
Mm-hmm.
So you categorize your expectations like those and you communicate them to the person. I'm going to give you an example. I know someone who, like, the wife wants something, she's always wanted this, but she's never said it to her husband. It's not a traditional thing that you ask for in a marriage. It's years into their marriage that it came up, and when she mentioned it to the husband, it's something that she's always wanted all these years.
And nobody would
saying
talk.
that to you to say, like, just communicate, be honest with what you want and what you don't want, because you could be blocking your own blessing. Like, it could be something that you want and the person happily wants to give it to you, but because you've never communicated about it, you're unhappy that you're not getting it, and the person is unhappy because they want to give it to you, but they don't know if you want it. So
Yes.
don't wait until 5-10 years into the marriage before you start saying, I don't really like this, or I never really like that, I don't want this. Be clear about your wants and your dislikes up front, because I think that's the only way that you're going to truly enjoy marriage and be happy about it.
Yeah.
So that's the only thing that I would add to it. I would agree with everything else that Anne Monique has said.
Yeah, Monique, that is so true.
Yeah, very true. I'm learning here.
I hope so.
All right. So Anne Monique grew up in the home where she say her mother doing everything, and then her father had his roles on the side over there. So mommy was superwoman, married, ministry, work, everything, kids, all of that. And same with Monique. What about the husbands now that grow up with that mother? Like, mommy do everything, so me don't know how to do nothing. So when you communicate and him say, no, but mommy always do everything, so why me need to help you? You're supposed to know how to do this.
The
What
first thing I
happens
would say,
then?
that's not the husband for me. Because like my husband and I were from very different backgrounds. And we established like one of the things that we've always agreed on, that yes, I have my family and my family has our way of doing things, and on his side the same. But we're creating a unique marriage. We make our rules, we destroy all the rules that were established and imposed upon us, like we're doing our own thing. So if I'm dating someone and you're gonna tell me that, oh, my mom does all the cooking, cleaning, washing, and she goes out and work, I just go to work and come home and watch TV and have a cold beer, well, I'm happy to know that. Go home and marry your mom. That's how I see it. That's just all it is for me. I'm sorry. I'm
Yes,
not looking for a son. I have one already.
yes. That's pretty much it from me, Kanisa. My husband, he's not the fully traditional person. Yes, he saw his mommy doing certain things and all of that, but he has always been independent enough to know how to do every single thing. One thing I was worried about when I was getting married was that he could not cook. And I'm a very picky eater. And he insisted that he could not cook. So that's why I started out cooking after I came home from work, until I realized after about 2 weeks that it's not going to work. And then he cooked. And he's the best rice cooker there ever is. He beat my mother with rice and peas. And my mother is a chef. I hope she doesn't watch this video still. He cooks very well, and I don't eat from any and everybody. And if I eat from him, I even eat things out of tin from him. I mean, I eat it from nobody else apart from my mother. You have to be careful how you cook tin food. I mean, eat things or him cook out of tin, because he learned how to do these things. And I realized that a lot of marriages are struggling because mothers did not train their sons how to be good husbands. And so the wives
have a lot of wives and no husbands.
Yeah, so they want the girl to become the best wives that they can be. But then, as Monique indicated, their sons become another son to a woman. And no woman nowadays working a 9 to 5 with other responsibilities on top of that. Businesses to run, plus their 9 to 5, plus the family, plus church, plus social life. Nobody really has the time for all of that. So I think it's important that from the get-go, you make that partner know that if you cannot do with me, share the responsibilities in the house. If you're one of those persons who want me to do everything while you do nothing, it's not going to work. And we have to be honest. Once again, honesty is key in the early stages of your dating relationship.
So what happens when you and your husbands are on the same page with that, and you're like, all right, we're going to make our own rules. This is our home. It run under our rules, right? But then the in-laws come over and they're like, no, sir. My son not getting a good treatment here.
Well, that's the in-laws problem, because I think we've both been to our in-laws, and it kind of starts from us. If my family decides to intervene on something that we didn't invite them to talk on, I should be at the place where I can say to my family, this is my husband and I's home. You have to respect what we do here. And it should be the same on his side. But if he's going to pick his family over me, or I'm going to pick my family over him, then one of us needs to go back home to our family. Because remember, when you get married, you leave your parents. They become like a secondary family now. To start your own family, so you make your rules there and everything trickles down to them. You're not telling them how to run their lives. They shouldn't tell you how to run yours.
Exactly. I've never had to deal with any mother-in-law issues, because unfortunately my husband's mommy died before we even knew each other. She died in 2012. So she died before I even met my husband. So I've never had to deal with that. And my mommy has only been here once since we got married, because she's been overseas ever since. And my father, because he miss him wife, so I really want to one ex-husband and wife. So and she came here, and I don't know if she was trying to boost my confidence or what, but she was like the proudest mother there was. She was like, when I came in, your house smells so nice. And you know, she come, and every evening we come from work, you know, I would go and fresh up the bathroom, fresh up her room. I had to be on my toes.
Because you're trying to impress mommy. That's mommy.
Yes, I've never had to deal with that kind of thing. And from the get-go, my parents are very overprotective. So they call me every day, every single day, at least twice per day for my father. Even though I'm a married man, and him know me live, and him know my husband, and so does my mom. And if they can't get to me, they get to you. And so I had to establish that that's as much as you can intervene, calling us every minute, but you don't come in and stir up conflict in our relationship. Because there's this song that we learned while we were at primary school. I think it was Kimberly Reed who sang this song at some point, and she said, I can't take my mother-in-law to boil dumpling and the inside raw, she tried to get a dog and the dog couldn't swallow. And all of this. I don't want my husband to say that about my mother-in-law, right? And I would not want to be in the position to say that about my mother-in-law, and I wouldn't want that for any couple coming up either. It can be a stressful situation when you can't get along with your in-laws. So that is something that you have to establish from the get-go. Put the boundaries there. You are a couple, they are their own family. So leave my business alone.
Mind you, it's very nice when you have the support of your family. And fortunately for us, we don't have that issue, because I guess our families kind of know their boundaries. They're not the type to just be intrusive. They've always supported us, and like if we have issues and let's say they know about it, which usually they don't, they'll always just say something like, just try and work it out, talk it over. You guys know how to handle your issues and so on. They encourage us, but we never had any in-law issues, so
that's true, money.
That took care of itself.
Yes, that is something. Even I think it was one of those monthly verse things that I was doing last year. We could always rely on our parents for positive. Even though Leroy's father is not yet married, we could always rely on him and my mommy and daddy for positive advice. But the negativity, thankfully, we don't have to deal with that.
That's perfect. All right. So since we're running out of time, I'm gonna ask you two to just give your final words of advice and encouragement to those out there that are looking forward to this journey, or already in there and full of problem.
We're running out of time for marriage conversation. I want to talk about sex.
Money. You know,
somebody is expecting you to get married so you can, we have to talk about sex. I'm sorry. We cannot talk about marriage and not talk about sex. Let's bring it in the Christian perspective. That's one of the main reasons I know a lot of persons get married, just for the sex with peace of mind. If it wasn't for the sex, they would have probably not get married.
Just live life same way.
Yeah, we have to talk about sex if we talk about marriage.
Yes, talk about it, Monique. I'm listening.
I guess you can start with your expectations of sex going into marriage versus, like I know a lot of persons say, before you get married, you expect that you're going to have sex all day, every day, like, going to be rabbits about.
I'm a rabbit.
How did that change?
Well, honestly, I didn't know, I didn't have any expectations, because until marriage, I didn't know what this old fuss was about.
No, you find out.
And then I found out. And then I really don't know what that's one of my better money talk about the one here. She's a little bit more comfortable talking about it.
For me, I knew what it was about before marriage, and I'm glad I did. Mm-hmm. You can decide if you want to know before or after, but I knew what it was about. As I said, the only thing for me is that a lot of persons were trying to see what it would be like after you get married. Are you gonna still be having sex all the time? Is it gonna be as good? Are you gonna become mom and pop now? Is it gonna be boring? And I can say, for me, it's all up to you. If you as a person love sex and you value it, you find ways to keep it spicy and pleasurable for both persons. I feel like it can be the same or even better as you go along. Because for me, I feel like it's a huge part of marriage. Like even let's say, yes, sex doesn't solve problems, but I think it's a good way to
Start the
conversation.
conversation.
Because a lot of times you're upset and you have an amazing round and then you come back and you forget for a second that you were upset and you just start talking calmly, respectfully to your partner. And before you know it, you're saying, why didn't we talk about this and resolve it sooner? It was something so simple, but you need that little intimate moment to kind of make you relax and get you more comfortable to talk about it. Just think it's very important.
But some people get the relaxation and then nobody talk because everything all right now for this 5 minutes. And then we'll go back again and get the relaxation. But the discussion is never had.
No, it's important not to use sex as a crutch. Then every time we're angry, we just have sex and forget about it. That's kind of like sweeping it under the carpet or just putting a band-aid over a bullet wound. You still need to address the issues, but I'm saying you can use sex as a good way to open the conversation. Then it's your comfortable space, or it should be your comfortable space. You're getting naked with this person, both literally and figuratively. You're getting naked with this person, so you should be comfortable talking about your issues and resolving them there.
Yes, I agree that after moment is perhaps one of my most peaceful times. I can sleep like a baby after, and I can be convinced about anything there. My mind is so relaxed. There is no anger after that period for me to respond in a negative way. We're cool, calm, and relaxed and in our own space. So with that physical expression of love, there's this, as far as I am concerned,
euphoria.
Yes, build up right there that allows you to see things in a completely different light. So I think, as Monique said, it's quite important. And while I don't have anything to compare it to outside of the marital context, as far as I'm concerned, that's one of the most important areas in a marriage. And thankfully, it is well.
But I have something to compare it to, Monique. And what I can say is, for me, physically, nothing changed. It's kind of like you just have to ensure that when you're married or you get the ring now, on both sides, the male or the female, you don't get comfortable and say, oh, I'm done married already. So, it shouldn't be seen like that. It shouldn't also be seen as, a lot of times we see sex as a reward for the man. More time, I have more demands than my partner. So, like, as women, we have desires too. So, it's not supposed to be seen as a reward or something I'm giving to my partner. We're sharing a moment. We're enjoying sex together. And if you keep, a lot of times, you need to keep the sex spicy even after the marriage, because if you remove the sex from a lot of marriages, there is nothing else there. So at least keep it spicy to have something if you want to remain married. And a lot of partners are frustrated because the sex gets a backseat, and that's the only thing that they look forward to in the marriage. So if we want to keep a lot of marriages alive, the things to spice up the sex, try new things, introduce new things, come out of the bedroom sometimes.
There.
Yeah.
Yes, and you see, for those who might be new to it, well, I can only speak from personal experience, but for those who might be new to it, the demand might be greater from you than from your spouse at first, and that is okay, because you want to learn the ropes, you want to figure out how things are done, what excites your partner, what excites you, and it is then for your partner to be patient with you, show you, learn, read books. There's this book that Carla Dunbar has, I think it's called Sexscription. Google is your friend. Google is your friend. Figure things out, get to know you, and test here and so try there. So all of these things, because if you never knew what it was before, now is when you're coming to learn. And you want to know as best as possible what will satisfy you and what will satisfy your partner. And it is then for both of you to be patient with each other, especially him with you, if you just start learning how the things go. And yeah, that's it.
And you remember how at the beginning we spoke about setting your expectations, communications. You know, communication has always been one of my biggest things in a relationship. It still applies when it comes to sex. Tell your partner what it is that you want, what it is that you enjoy, what it is that you haven't tried, but you're willing to try. I guess unlike Anne Monique, where her sexual experiences started post-marriage, mine started before, but it's the same partner, and a lot of persons will look at me sometimes and say, oh, you know, how can you talk about sex? How much can you know? But I can always say it is not the number of partners that you have, but it's the experiences that you have with the partner, or if you had multiple partners than the partners that you had before. And I can talk about sex a lot more than persons who've had multiple partners and persons who've been doing it for long before me, because it's something that I had an interest in even before I started having sex, even before I got married. So I would do a lot of research, as Anne Monique said. If you want to get me to read a book about anything, put sex on the cover, and then you put the rest of it in the book. I'll read it. I will research. I will talk to people who know. I'm interested, so I find out everything. So you talk to your partner, you let them know up front what it is that you want about sex.
And you mentioned reading about sex. Shockingly, back in high school, I was introduced to romance books by one of my classmates in first form, and that is where I started to learn about this whole sex thing. So you build up that expectation from romance book, and that is not how it's. Don't start there. I wouldn't advise you start there. That's unrealistic expectation. Romance books, nah, not at all. The real thing is the real thing, as opposed to what romance books will tell you about. And I had to learn that as well, coming into marriage.
What if you have a closed-minded partner that is like, no sir, me a Jamaican man, or man don't want to talk about them thing there and all of that. What if you have one of those partners? For those viewers out there that have those partners.
I would say after you get married, sorry, that's a different conversation. But before you get married, I would say talk about these things. That's why I say it's important for you to be honest with yourself and your partner about what you want, what you like, and what you're into. If I'm dating somebody and they say to me that sex is just open leg in and out, okay, you are in, no, you're out, because that's a deal breaker for you. But can you imagine if like having a spicy sex life is important for you, and then you're quiet about it, and your partner is someone who's closed-minded about sex? 5-6 years in the relationship, you're unhappy. 7 years, you're unhappy, and that's where cheating comes in. I'm not saying that cheating is justified, but I'm saying
it happens.
It's likely that person will be looking elsewhere for sexual satisfaction. But if you were upfront about it, and the person says, okay, yes, I will satisfy you sexually, I'm willing to try things with you, but then later on they're doing something different, that again is another conversation, because at least you were honest about your expectations.
Or they might take it as disrespectful, like, but me know me I do a long time, me I do this.
No, but that's their problem, because guess what? What satisfies me sexually might not satisfy you sexually. So we also have, that's why I said both of us, not just me telling you what I want, but you have to tell me what you want as well. And that is why it's important that we have this conversation before we get married. So it's also a part of the assessing whether this person is the right fit for you. You don't just get married because you want to have a fancy double barrel last name, or because you want to say, oh, I'm married, plan my left. Getting married, it's a lifelong commitment, it's kind of saying for the rest of our lives. I mean, it doesn't always happen that way, but that's the idea going into marriage. So you want to be sure that at least the things that are important for you will be present in the marriage.
You're both on the same page.
Yeah. Exactly. And if it pops up after marriage, there's always counseling. A lot of couples are not willing to go to counseling, but we learned while going to counseling, premarital counseling, that post-marital counseling is also an important part of marriage. A lot of persons, they get the 10 weeks, 10 sessions of counseling, or 5 or whatever amount, and they go in thinking that, all right, I have this, we have the hang of it, and that's it. If those issues pop up and you as a couple can't figure it out together, then it's important that you at least get professional help to see if you guys can talk it out and work it out. Because while money is one of the main and leading cause of divorce in marriages, sex is a close second, because if you can't satisfy your partner and your partner cannot satisfy you, sex being such a major part of marriage, there's definitely going to be some tension, dissatisfaction, that's going to cause conflict, that's going to cause malice, that's going to cause all different kind of issues. So you have to sort it out while you have the opportunity to work on it.
Here.
And during sex, you're not robots. So I feel like that happens a lot in marriages. In terms of people that I talk to, you hear them say, once the sex is going on, I don't want to be talking. For me, if the sex is going on and I don't like something, or I think there's something that if we transition to that, I like it better, I'm saying it, and I can say that has worked for me. That's like one of the biggest things for me. Communication about the sex, during the sex, after the sex. The communication doesn't always have to be verbal either. You can show your partner that I'm enjoying this, or transition to something that will kind of subtly say, I didn't like that too much, without breaking the mood at the time. But communication is everything when it comes to sex. And sex is a big part of marriage. So
I agree. Nothing further to add on that, Money. Very cool.
That's my 2 cents on marriage and sex. I'm sorry we could not end the conversation about marriage without talking about sex.
Finally got you to talk. Alright, so advise us as newbies and those who are in there long time and a struggle, and those who want to come.
Well, for me, travel together as much as possible. It doesn't have to be outside of the country. Go places together and have fun while you're doing it. Communicate. Talk to each other. Talk to each other throughout the day. My mommy always tells me, sometimes I don't always get it right, but don't go to bed in malice. Or if you're not married yet and living together, don't go to your bed and him in his separate bed in another house in malice with each other. Talk it out before the day is out. The longer you keep issues unresolved, the more likely it is that it will build up and become something greater than it really is. So talk it out. Talk about everything and anything, and be open and honest as you talk. Do fun things together. Try new things together. It's very important as a couple that you see each other in different situations, that you try new things and build your own culture as a couple, whether you're dating, engaged, or married. Do new things and try new things together. I had some things written down that I really wanted.
While you're thinking, if you're like me and you can't talk about the situation there and then, you have to go sleep it off. Make sure as soon as you're calm, then you talk about it. Don't leave it and say, all right, I'm calm now, so it can go on. Still talk about it.
Yes, there is that too. It's better you talk about it than hold it in, because when you hold it in, resentment starts to come in. Also, physical touch. Hugging each other closely. Well, when you get married, and as much as you can, if you can control yourselves when you're unmarried, for Christian couples, physical touch is very important. When you hug your spouse or your spouse hugs you, trust me, it can make a difference. It can soothe you, it can calm you. So hug your spouse as much as possible. Hold hands. You might be driving. Whenever Leroy is driving, he has this thing over dividing our seats. So he would put his hand on it and open his hand, and automatically I would put mine in his, because that's just something we've been doing since we've been dating. it's just automatic now. Him knows him have to put him under. So if he not put him under, that's something wrong. Because we have the man to hold. So hold each other, touch each other as much as possible.
Adani.
As you are married and whatnot. Sleep in together on a Saturday morning if possible. Treat each other and forgive each other as quickly as possible. Alright? Be nice to each other, be kind to each other. Live together and serve together and love together and love others together. Alright?
Monique?
All right. For those who want to get married but are not yet married, I think you're in a good place. You have time to implement some of the strategies that we spoke about, communicating upfront, and to be, I wouldn't even say be sure, but be reasonably certain that your deal breakers have been discussed with your partner. Take time to get to know the person. Don't rush into marriage. There is no fairy dust that will be sprinkled over your head and any magic that's going to happen after marriage. So you can take time to get to know the person and get married when the time is right. For persons who are newly married, again, don't expect any magic. Do things to engage your partner. Do things together, as Monique says. And don't rush to get everything done quickly, because if you have a lifetime to go together, then take baby steps with your partner. Try new things, develop with your partner, because again, you have a lifetime to be keeping this person happy. I've heard that a lot of relationships went sour during COVID-19 because persons can't bear to see their partner. Don't let that happen to you. Get to know your partner and get comfortable with your partner so that if you have to be around the person 24/7, you don't have an issue. For persons who are in a relationship for a very long time or married for a very long time, don't get comfortable and say, oh, we done married or we just been together, so everything all right. No, try introduce new things as you go along. Try new things together. Keep it spicy. It keeps you looking younger and fresher, and it keeps the marriage more, like, become friends then. Imagine you're with somebody for 10, 15 years, 20, 30 years, and all of that time you're just unhappy. It's going to start showing in your face. You're going to be looking older than you really are. You're going to be angry with your friends and your family. So, do things with your partner to keep it spicy and fun. And for all of the above, communicate. Communicate before you get married. Communicate as soon as you get married. Communicate 50 years into the relationship. And for those who are married, have sex. For those who aren't married and you have different beliefs in terms of when or how to have sex, if you want to, explore your partner as well. But communicate and have sex. Those are my top tips for everybody.
And one additional thing, I can't believe I forgot, but pray together. Pray together. Pray together. It's very important. Building that relationship with God together is important. Especially for Christian couples, pray together. The family that, I always believe that the family that prays together stays together. That's my belief.
All right. All right. Thank you guys for all your input. Thank you for sharing your experiences and coming and giving me some of your time today. So just to summarize everything, for those who are looking forward to getting married, for those who are already married and you know you have done many years, you're veterans in the thing, for those who are sitting back and waiting for that day to come, just dreaming about, let's just continue to work on ourselves personally, find out your likes and your dislikes so that when Mr. or Mrs. Right comes, you know how to communicate your likes and dislikes and your deal breakers to that person. Be realistic about your expectations. Don't take up Superman and Superwoman role when you know you're not Superman or Superwoman. Just do what you are able to do. Take up what is in your capacity. Communicate as much as possible. with your partner, and you can go back to our video on communication. And try new things, take trips, try new things with your partner just to keep the relationship alive, whether it be going to a different part of the country, try a new parish, a whole new country altogether, try something new. If it's a new restaurant in your community, try something new. Don't use sex as therapy, as Monique said. Do not use sex as therapy. Don't let the euphoria after trick you into thinking that we've resolved the situation. It's not resolved. Go and talk about it. And another thing that Monique added was sex is not just for the man, it's for both of you. So communicate your likes and dislikes and have fun in there. So thank you guys for coming. Thank you guys for watching. I am ready for love, ready to love myself, ready to love someone else, and ready to teach someone else how to love me. Bye.